What's up, everyone? Welcome back to episode 308 of Empty the Benches. Nick Mack, joined by Anders this week to break down what the hell just happened over the last 48 hours, gentlemen. I was looking forward to my week off. You know, Stanley Cup gets handed out, Carolina, blah, 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 bullshit. I was like, sit back, relax, World Cup, have a couple 2-3 during the week and enjoy it. But back to work, right? Duty calls.
Yeah, I mean, I figured we'd probably record something ahead of the draft, but I was like, we'll put out a little 20, 25-minute episode and just do some draft previews. It'll be easy. And then, what the fuck just happened? People were tweeting shit like, is today the trade deadline? What is happening right now?
You sent to our group chat, I think it was a week ago, you sent a text that was like, it's not even July 1st, buckle up. And you could not have been more spot on, dude. So kudos to you.
Yeah, it's just been one domino after another.
Yeah, it really has. Let's not even dilly-dally. We're not going to do a question of the day. Let's just get right down to business. So obviously, biggest news that has happened over the last, I would say, 48 hours or so, I think we can safely say, Brady Tkachuk is now a member of the Florida Panthers. They did it. They somehow pulled this off. All that talk about, I want to stay here and win a cup in Ottawa, and this is the greatest city in the world, I don't necessarily fault him for saying that, because of course you're going to say that when you're playing there, but
right.
He's been there for a while. I didn't realize he had been there for what is it? Is it 8 years?
Yeah, I mean, time flies when you're having fun in the capital of Canada. But shit, I mean, I didn't think it would happen the way it did, I guess.
I definitely thought he was going to leave Ottawa. I was always under that impression at some point. Unless they got drastically better overnight, I just didn't see a way that they were going to hang on to him. I don't really ever thought 100% that the Panthers would somehow pull this off. Maybe that's me being naive, but I just figured with everyone they had on that roster that it just wasn't going to, the dominoes weren't going to fall, and they proved me wrong, and they absolutely did fall. So Tkachuk to Florida for the number 9 overall pick, the number 25 overall pick, a second in 27, and a 2029 conditional first rounder that is top 10 protected. How do we feel about the return here for the Senators, gentlemen?
I mean, I think, in a world where this was kind of inevitable for the Senators, where they didn't really have enough to keep a guy that clearly didn't want to be in Canada long term anyways, I do think they made the best out of a bad situation. As far as we know, at least, he gave a short list of teams, and those are all great teams with limited assets. So I do it's not great for them. It's tough, but I do think it is maybe the best they could have done here.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little tough to not even get one roster player, but especially in a year where it's kind of weak free agency class too. So it's not like you can just go sign a guy that's going to immediately replace a guy like Brady Tkachuk. So
right.
But yeah, I agree with Anders. I think a little bit of a handcuff type trade where it's well, we can only do so much here. So.
Yeah, it's definitely a situation, Anders, like you said, where, just get what you can and get out of it and move on. And I think, like you mentioned, they did a decent job of getting what they could. I mean, 2 picks in the first round of this draft, that later went down to 1, which we'll get to in a second. But so they're picking 25th overall in this draft on top of whatever picks they already had. You've got a second next year and then a protected first round top 10 pick in 2029, which is pretty nice. But sort of I think the narrative that started to come out after this, I don't know if you guys saw this online, I certainly did, is, oh, now the NHL's the NBA and everyone's just chasing rings and wants to leave. And I don't really have any sympathy for the Ottawa Senators in this situation. You have been trying for so long to put together a competent hockey team, to keep this guy there, to keep any kind of talent there. I mean, this goes back to Erik Karlsson, and they still leave all the time. It's an internal organization thing. If it was a better situation for him, he would have stayed. That's, at the end of the day, these players have to look out for their self-interest at some point. don't really understand the criticism with him being American. I don't see how that makes sense at all. I saw a complete bonehead whose name escapes me. I forget what radio show he was on, but he was saying, do we need to get to a point where Americans aren't allowed to be captains because they're like dictating too much of where they go, and there's tampering with state tax and no state tax? And I could not disagree more. But yeah, I don't really have much. I have sympathy for Sens fans because they've had it really rough for a while, but I really don't have any sympathy for the organization here. What about you guys?
Yeah, I think that's fair. And this is interesting because I think you're on that spectrum. I'm kind of in the middle, and I think this guy is going to have like the farther other side take. So I'll go next. But I think like I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I first of all, I love this for Florida. I think it's fucking awesome. I think it immediately, there's a lot of people being like, this isn't even that. Like, I don't get why. Like, Tkachuk's not that good. I think that's all brain dead takes. I think this is a huge move for them any way you shake it. And I think both of them on the team is going to immediately bring them right back to, conference final contender in the next couple of years. Almost indefinitely. The captains thing, I mean, obviously it's stupid to be like, we shouldn't let Americans be captains at this point, but I do think it's a little bit, there's a pattern there for sure to be studied of like what's happening with these, like, I mean, we see it with Larkin, we see it with Quinn Hughes, we saw it with Brady. There is a lot of I guess there's some talk amongst the fellas that was probably going on at the Olympics and stuff like that. So it's interesting. What's the account on Instagram? The Fucking Show. Which that guy's Canadian, so obviously he's going to have this take, but he put out a whole video about like what the hell is going on with like American captains. And I there were some points in there I agree with, some I didn't. But I think any way you shake it, this is awesome for the Panthers. Also, the last thing I'll say about it is I said it on the show before, I do not understand just the pure hatred for the Tkachuk brothers when you have nothing to do with either of the teams they've been on. Like, I understand it if you're a Team Canada fan. Like, if you're Canadian, I understand why you hate them. If you're like the Oilers fan, or if you're a fan of any team that rivals the Panthers or the Senators, I get hating either or both of them. Fine.
Yeah.
But there's too many like Dallas Stars fans or like Minnesota Wild fans, just random fan bases with no reason to really give one way of a fuck or another about the Tkachuk brothers, who are just like, oh, I just hate them because they're like, they seem like idiots or whatever. And it's like,
yeah, they're pro hockey players.
All right, man. A lot of the guys in the NHL are pretty, unintelligent, I guess, is the word.
These guys all stopped real school after what, 12?
Exactly.
13?
Yeah. They're all gonna, so I don't know. The hatred, I think they're nails personally. And I don't like when my team has to play against them.
No.
But I think they're great hockey players. I think they're fun to watch too.
The last thing I'll say about the whole like state tax situation, if the NHL wants to address that with a state tax adjusted salary cap, I am totally fine with that. Like, if you want to stop guys from, basically losing $2.5 million that they're getting paid depending on where they live, I'm totally fine with that. If you want to prevent this, Vegas, Carolina, Florida, Tampa nonsense. But it is it's a mess right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're spot on with that. I do agree that that's a solution they should be exploring, but it doesn't sound like their current solution seems to be pretending like that's not a thing that exists and that's not actually a factor. And to his point, where I'm sort of on the opposite end of that spectrum, I think initially
Quinn Hughes scarred him as a Canucks fan.
I mean, I think initially
totally get that.
I had a more emotional reaction based around my, living through the Quinn Hughes era and how that felt and all that. But I think like I've leveled off a little bit, but I do think it's not any one of these individual situations or any of these individual players. I think it's just become a pattern of behavior that is a little bit taxing for fans who aren't teams on these 4-team trade lists. And, that I think for me, the Dylan Larkin one feels particularly the grossest.
Okay.
Like outside of the like, Americans coming to Canada, screwing over Canadian teams, saying like,
Right.
even if you want to remove that narrative, because I don't care that much about that. I think the Larkin one feels bad, and I think we have sort of collectively as a hockey community, which compared to where we were at one point is a good thing. But I think we've swung so heavily in the favor of player agency that any guy in any situation is just like automatically deemed well within his rights to bail
Sure.
at any time.
Yeah.
And for a guy like Dylan Larkin, who, granted, full stop, I don't think Stevie Y is a good GM. I don't think his process has been good there. I think, he's not necessarily given Dylan Larkin a real chance to compete. But, and this for me applies to Brady Tkachuk as well, in those moments where you did have a chance, like last season with Detroit when they should have had a playoff spot locked up at one point, who underperformed the most? There's a lot of names you could say, and granted he was dealing with injury, but I think a lot of that started with Dylan Larkin, and he deserves to carry some amount of responsibility for that. So I don't blame fans of that team feeling a little burnt by that. And same with Brady Tkachuk. Look up how many playoff points he had when the Senators did get there.
That's a good point. It was not a good playoffs for him or the Sens altogether this year around. I do agree with you in the Larkin sense, and that's always going to be hard for Detroit fans because you look at they're always going to compare whoever their captain is to Stevie Y. And he was captain for 20 years there. The first 10 was the tail end of the Dead Wings era. So they were shit. I mean, they were really shit. Then, of course, they go on to, basically be the best team on the planet in all of sports for the next decade. But for a while, I think, it was bad. He stuck it out. And they go on to win. And Mac, to your point about the guy who runs the fucking show page, that was the point from his clip that you shared that I agreed with most. It's sort of this narrative of guys looking at it going, damn, I want to go play with that Florida team versus no, let's stay home and figure out how to beat the Florida team.
Yeah, being motivated.
That I'm on board with. Don't get me wrong. It's like, if you want to move for a better situation for you, for your family, I am all on board for that.
Yeah,
but
if it's an Eichel thing where he suffered through how many terrible Buffalo teams, and then they also won't let him get a fucking surgery that's going to ruin his career. There are situations where it's like, hell yeah, dude, get the fuck out of there. Do what's best for you. But
it's like a homegrown talent if you're a soccer fan, and then Real Madrid comes calling with 5 times the amount of money that you're paying every other player. It's like you basically bent over a barrel.
Or, I mean, we've seen it in I've also been seeing tweets that's like, rumor is Connor McDavid's trade list is the Dodgers, the Lakers, and the Kansas City Chiefs. It's no fucking shit, bro.
Well, and to the point of the narrative around, this is the super team era, we're becoming the NBA. This isn't a new thing in sports, and it's a little bit pedantic to act like it is. Talent has always pooled. It's always been, talent attracts talent. Guys want to win. It's not that much deeper than that. But there is just, again, a pattern that is starting to become pretty grating if you're not a fan of one of those 4 teams.
Yeah, correct. I also think it's the way that we talk about athletes now. It's become, all it's watered down to is how many rings do you have now? It's not, this guy's one of the greatest of all time. It's inevitably followed by that, but no cups, no rings, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Speaking of just a plethora of cups and rings, let's talk about the Washington Capitals.
Oh, yeah. All the cups and rings that they have. So 2 big things happened for Caps fans. I know you guys have been dying to hear our thoughts on this. Mac and I's phones were blowing up over the last 48 hours. But let's start with what happened yesterday. So Jordan Kyrou to DC in exchange for Connor McMichael, Milton Gastrin, and the 16th pick in Friday's draft. Mac, your initial impressions on when this deal went through?
Well, I mean, the first thing I saw was Kyrou to DC, and so it's immediately, oh, fuck yeah, but then it's, oh boy, what's going back? And right away I started thinking about Mikey, so I kind of knew that that'd be part of it. I don't really have a problem with any of the package. I mean, I think I've seen lots of discourse online about wholly overpay or whatever. I really don't think it is at all. I think McMichael, we know what kind of player he is at this point. I like him a lot, but I would be highly, highly shocked if he goes to St. Louis or anywhere else and suddenly doubles his career high in points in a season or something like that. I think I'm rooting for him, obviously, but
Sure.
I don't think he's gonna like suddenly still become way better than he is right now. I kind of feel like he's reached about his ceiling.
Yeah.
In that 1 year we had like 50 points or something like that.
Something like that.
The Gastrin thing, I mean, he was a somewhat promising prospect,
Sure.
but pretty new in our system. I think he was 2025 draft pick so I mean, I kind of don't mind parting with a guy like that we haven't really put that much time into yet anyway. And also, we've got so much young talent that it's like,
Yes.
what's the fucking point? Just let him. And like some of the stuff I was seeing was like right now they think best case scenario. I mean, it's early, so you don't know, but they were like, this guy might be like a third line center or something like that. So fine, move on. And the 16th pick, I mean, yeah, it sucks anytime you have to give up a first round pick, but it's not even the top half. Well, I guess technically it is in the top half of the draft, but we've got
a very
two.
like top 5 heavy draft this year.
Yeah, exactly. And we've got two. I mean, there's going to be some diamonds in the rough, which we'll talk about later when we get into the draft a little more. But we've got two, and I honestly thought we were going to maybe have to move both of them. Not sure that's going to happen at this point. Still could, I suppose, even up to actual draft day. But I'm certainly okay with moving one of them. I'd still be okay with moving the other one too, depending on what we get. But when, like I said, when you're a team like the Caps that have so much young talent in the system already, I'm not that pressed about getting whoever we could get at 16 or 18. I mean, I think there's someone to be gotten that could help later down the line, but it's not something. I mean, we've had the same problem for the last couple of years. We need a scoring winger. We need another one or even two top 6 guys. So at some point, you're going to have to give up a couple of guys to go and get it. And that's what happened. And I think Scottie Pippen agrees with me.
Scotty does agree. I can hear him.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to ask you is like, I understand that every sports fan base has their fan favorites on their team. Washington Capitals fans love their fan favorites, and you know it. But what have you and I been saying that this team needs for the last 4 or 5 years? It is a fast scoring winger. This is a guy that has potential to score 40 goals. I think this guy in a Spencer Carberry coach system might hit the prime of his career. And that's not just me trying to be optimistic, but this is a coach that I think could get the absolute most out of Jordan Kyrou. Now, obviously, sad to see Mikey go. Definitely a fan favorite. Everyone loved him. You could tell by the players' reactions on social media when this happened. But I agree with you. Like, he was really the only feasible roster player that
with
someone
any kind of like value. Too.
Yeah, that you could send back. And when it comes to Gastrin, you know, there's this bouquet of talent still coming for the Washington Capitals that either isn't playing pro yet or, you know, has cracked the NHL lineup yet.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those dominoes that had to fall. And out of all the prospects, I am totally okay with moving this guy.
Yeah, I honestly think it's one of the more fair deals for both teams I've seen in a while. I don't think what's funny is when I first went on Twitter, I saw like an equal amount of St. Louis got fleeced and like the Caps got fleeced. And I was like, no one has to have gotten fleeced.
Right.
It's possible that this is just a good trade.
Got fleeced in this move.
I
think there's a reason why 2 NHL GMs agreed to it. It's because they both went, you have something I want. I got something you want. Let's, you know, make a trade,
it's
baby.
a good hockey trade.
Yeah, I mean, when was the last time you've ever seen anyone on Twitter say, wow, what a fair trade?
No,
what
exactly.
What a reasonable use of assets.
Right.
Twitter has been on a different planet the other day. Like, every insider is just getting shat on. They're like, oh, good job. You're saying the same thing Elliot said. I'm like, yeah, that's how sports work.
That's what happens. Yeah.
Like, have you ever heard of a guy named Adam Schefter or Woj? Like, this is just how it goes, man.
Yeah.
But anyways, DC not done there. Today they sign Alex Tuck. It's a sign and trade by the Sabres, so it's $10.5 million for 8 years, which I know everyone was flipping out about. And in return, Buffalo gets a 3rd rounder. So Tuck not going to stay with the Sabres. This is them just getting something out of this. I know 10.5 is a scary number for a lot of people. So here's how I'm rationalizing this, and tell me if you think I'm an idiot. The cap went up. The cap went up $8.5 million. This is essentially an $8 million contract from 2 years ago.
Yes. Which is like about right, I think. I mean, he's
Yeah.
30. I mean, I think he just came off a 4.5. I think he was making 4.5 or something. So obviously it's a big pay increase. I know everyone's like, he went silent in the last round of the playoffs or whatever. Shit happens,
did the
bro. They ran
entire
into a
Sabres
really good
roster.
goalie too. Like, whatever.
The Sabres' best player to close out that series was a guy they called up with like 6 games left in Constantinius.
Right.
So
Yeah. So that's a stupid narrative. And also his playoff stats total, if you go back to his time with Vegas, he's got like 80 games played and like 45 points or something. Like it's pretty like decent playoff numbers overall. So
I think this is a player too, sort of like we've always said about PLD, or that you could even say about Brady Tkachuk, where it may not necessarily show up on the scoreboard, but what this guy gives you in a forechecking, high-pressure puck retrieval environment is so valuable.
He also is the Caps, my entire life, love just big motherfuckers. And this guy is like 6'4", 230 or something like that, with still some speed. You know, it's not like he's going to be throwing like huge hits all the time, but he'll get in the way and he'll fight for pucks in the corner. And that's the kind of guy that the Caps have always liked on offense. So
yeah, I mean, from an outside non-Capitals fan perspective, I have like sympathy to the idea that just on paper, looking at these numbers for a guy like who we think he is, it's not like not scary, but I think you're right on the money, Nick, with like, we're in a different time. You know, salary cap is going up. These numbers do not mean what they feel like they do. We saw it with the term and money that Darren Radish got in Toronto. Like, it's just a different time.
Yeah, the market's a little bit fucked, and we're just going to have to accept that. And also, Nick, I loved what you said earlier. Would you say throw the party, apologize to your parents later? In terms of the tenure, like,
win
everyone's
now,
like, this contract's going to fucking suck in like 5 or 6 years. It's like, okay, well, we'll think about that then and like deal with it then if we have to. But
Ovi will be gone then. Like, deal with it then.
And I'm fine. The way I explain the tenure is like, this is a guy who was drafted by Minnesota, then he played 4 years with Vegas, then he played 5 years with Buffalo. The guy's 30. I think he's probably got a family. I don't know for sure. He probably wants somewhere to just know that, okay, this is it. I can be here and I can retire there. And I like that because he's going to be fully committed. You know, he doesn't have a cup yet. And he's going to be like, shit, this is he probably knows I just signed what is almost certainly going to be my last NHL contract.
Very likely.
So you'd think a guy like that's going to be motivated to be like, shit, all right, well, this is where it's going to happen if it's going to happen. So,
well, and let's say you don't necessarily, God forbid, let's say they don't run it back in the next year or two and get it done right away. If this guy ages in your lineup and continues to still be semi-productive, then you do what every team with a player like that does. You get him one last shot at a ring with 3 years left on this deal, and you take a great overpay from a team that's contending at the deadline.
Exactly. There's ways to get out of a contract like that later. So
it's not by no means a death sentence. I think the overreaction I saw from some of the Capitals Twitter geniuses was like, it was like you were paying him $14.5 a year. I'm like, no, this is not a Rantanen situation by any means.
Yeah, and I think like in a world where that is what happens and he becomes just like kind of an aged vet on this roster.
Yeah.
By all accounts of what you hear about the guy, like I think he's a perfectly reasonable mentor to have in the room for, you know, a decently young core you guys have coming up. And yeah, I mean, I just think that like everything is going to feel like an overpay this year just because the numbers are different. And especially I think this is a very significantly weaker free agency class than we've seen in the past.
Exactly.
So, like, this represents some of the top talent in that class. So you're going to have to pay for it.
Yeah. You know? That's a great point. Let's go ahead and move away from the Caps. So Bowen Byram to Chicago, reportedly wanted out of Buffalo because he wanted to be a number 1 defenseman. Yeah, that was probably not going to happen there. I think there was about 4 guys in front of him. So this is a little bit of a 3-way. Nice. So the Hawks get Bowen Byram and Jordan Greenway. I think there was something going back to someone else. And then the Sabres get a number 4 overall pick in the 2026 draft. They get a 2nd rounder in the upcoming draft and a defensive prospect as well. What do we think about the price for Bo-By here?
Look, I want to criticize this deal without criticizing the player because I like Bo Byram. I honestly think he's never really had a shot to be the guy on a blue line, and I think at least from a counting stats perspective, I do think he's going to excel in that role. I expect him to do well.
I like green white too.
Yeah. But for Kyle Davidson and the Blackhawks leadership, I understand the pressure you're probably feeling right now, knowing that you have not given Connor Bedard a better finish than 31st in the league. And you need to show him something. You need to give him some sort of indication that you have some idea of competitiveness, like, on your mind. But you finished 31st in the league again, and Bo Byram is not a guy who is moving the needle enough for you to give up the 4th overall pick. And the report coming out is that they were in love with Ivar Stenberg, and after the Sharks made some moves, which I'm sure we'll talk about, all of a sudden the idea of them getting Stenberg disappeared. It seemed almost impossible. So I understand if you feel this pressure to pivot and you decide to pivot into a guy who possesses the traits that you loved about Stenberg, but is maybe just a little bit more developed and an immediate option. But if you're going to go for this sort of like, offensive upside, facilitating D-man, there's a guy that is going to be available at 4 named Chase Reed, who projects to do that at least as well as Bo Byram, if not way better.
Yeah.
I've never been the biggest fan of Kyle Davidson. I think you can talk yourself into this being an okay idea, but the process and the result feels horrible. And we'll see how it plays out, but if I was a Blackhawks fan, I would be relatively sick to my stomach.
It's the number 4th overall pick for me in a very, like I said earlier, top 5 heavy draft. Like, you could have made the argument that they could have done something to try and draft Keaton Verhoff here.
Sure.
And I think that kind of gives you a similar situation. Maybe he's a little bit more defensive minded, but whatever. So let me run this by you. So this is their top 6 decor according to Daily Faceoff. So it's Alex Vlasic and Bo Byram, Wyatt Kaiser and Sam Renzel, Ethan Del Mastro, and Artie Levshinov. Do we feel that this trade has pushed this team into playoff contention? I say no.
In the Central Division,
No.
There's not a fucking chance, man.
Yeah.
Like, I understand that Frundell is going to get more time and he's going to get, significantly better this year. I think he's an incredibly talented player, and I can totally understand why this Hawks team would love to have him and Stenberg playing on the same team together, considering they've been doing that for how long now. But yeah, I think this one, out of all the ones that we've had to talk about, is by far and away the grossest overpay for me. And that's not a diss to Bo Byram by any means.
Right.
I mean, the guy has a Stanley Cup already, but
Yeah, it's definitely a head scratcher.
yeah, it's definitely one where I think if you wanted to get this move done, you were going to have to pay the tax, and they absolutely paid the tax.
Yeah, and I think like the obvious defense of this would be to say, well, they're not done. They have more moves to make. And sure, every team does, but again, in a weaker free agency class, that would imply that those moves are coming via the trade. And if you're going to take this big of a swing, you better be absolutely certain that you have both the assets and the trade partners to make something like that happen.
Yeah. And also, I'm just thinking about the 4th overall pick and what else that could have gotten you instead of Bo Byram. I mean, I know they wanted a defenseman, but I don't know. We just traded a 3rd round pick for Alex Tuck. Like,
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't look great on paper right now, but Anders, like you said, they might not be done. We'll have to see come Friday. Let's go out west. Let's go to Calgary. So Simon Nemec to Calgary. This one kind of surprised me a little bit. So the Devils finally move on from this guy. I know he's been in trade talks for the last 2.5 seasons now. But in return, the Devils are going to get a 2027 conditional 1st round pick that comes from Vegas, a 28 conditional 1st round pick that comes from Colorado, a 26 2nd rounder, and a defensive prospect as well. I just feel like Calgary is so purgatory right now. It's kind of where defensemen go to flatline. I mean, that's just my opinion on that franchise. But what do you guys think about this move?
Honestly, I think Jersey did a good job getting a lot of assets back. He's a good player though. He's a little streaky and a little bit, sometimes he looks awesome out there. Sometimes he looks a little more lost, but um, I, I, I would put this one a little closer to the Kyrou thing, like of just being mostly a fair trade that I'm curious to see how it pans out. I don't think anyone really got totally fleeced here.
No, I
Yeah,
think
I
it
mean,
serves both needs.
I agree. I don't, especially coming off the heels of talking about a trade that we felt was pretty lopsided. I think like there's things to like and like about it for both sides, but in a world like the Tkachuk thing where it all just felt a little inevitable, I
Yeah.
think it's a good return. I don't know.
It-
I mean, it's interesting. It seems like they're trying to build back through the blue line, because I still personally see them taking a D man in this draft, but
Okay. I think for Jersey, this is good. I think they're kind of in this weird position where they're gonna have some guys that are getting a little bit older. Heischer's getting a little bit older. You still have some young guys. Obviously, the health of Jack Hughes is going to be your yearly discussion, game in and game out. But I think this gives them not only an opportunity to either do something with those picks in that draft or potentially try and do something at a deadline. And for Calgary, that those picks are from Vegas. There's one from Colorado. I'm assuming that first round pick was in the Rasmus Anderson trade. I could be wrong there, but that's
so.
It's not really any skin off your back, I think, at this point, right?
Sure.
It's hockey math. It's a free pick, right?
Yep.
Let's go ahead and talk about William Eklund. He ends up with the Senators. They wasted no time in getting rid of that 9th overall pick they got in the Tkachuk deal, and they flipped it right to San Jose. So how do we feel about this one? This one surprised me. I was not expecting this at all.
In a world where earlier I said it sucks that they didn't get any roster players in the Tkachuk deal, this makes that pill a little easier to swallow.
Yes.
I think that's the best way I can explain it. Eklund's a great player. Was definitely surprised to see the Sharks willing to deal him that quickly. The only thing I can think is they must have their eyes on somebody right around that spot that they just have to have.
yeah, I mean, I think the way I read this is that they kind of had a logjam of young forwards that necessitated, especially because there's a huge need on the blue line. I think it necessitated them taking a guy like a Chase Reed at number 2. And as far as I understand, I think they just really loved Ivar Stenberg as a player, but with the current roster construction, they couldn't justify using a number 2 overall pick on him. So this is a very D-man heavy class. So I think what acquiring this pick does allows you to take Stenberg and still address that need of a new defender in the prospect pool.
These two teams have a history of dealing Swedes back and forth, too. We do know that.
Right.
I mean, not too long ago, they got Fabian Zetterlund from the San Jose Sharks. I think there's a very real situation where that top line in Ottawa is Eklund, Stützle, Zetterlund, and that's pretty nasty if you think about it.
That is.
Last one of the trades to get to before we take a quick break. Jack Drury to Nashville. This one kind of snuck in at the end of the day today. That is for Fedor Svechkov and winger Zach LaRue. Mac, I know you know those guys pretty well, getting to see them play in Milwaukee for the Admirals. Your thoughts on that deal?
Yeah, I like both those players. I enjoyed watching them both here in Milwaukee, and I know they both have had some stints up with Nashville and showed flashes of being able to compete at the NHL level too. So I like the trade for Colorado, and I don't mind it for Nashville either. I think this is just it's a good trade.
Yeah, Zach LaRue, I loved watching during his time in Milwaukee. Jack Drury does feel like a very Nashville player to me. So this whole thing makes relative sense, I feel like.
Yeah, it seems like this is kind of just like a B across the board for both, and like a solid B at that for me.
Yeah.
I think this, like you said, benefits both teams. I don't necessarily think anyone got fleeced or hosed here. It's just a good move. Both teams needed to do it.
Yep.
Let's take a quick break to talk about our friends at DraftKings, and when we come back, we will talk about the draft, the Hall of Fame class, and Mike Babcock once again.
It all comes down to this, a best-of-7 battle, and DraftKings has you covered every step of the way. The DraftKings Sports app is now available in all 50 states and includes all markets. Sweat every shift of the series, all in one place with one app. New DraftKings customers sign up with code THPN, spend $5 to get $200 in rewards within 21 days. That's code THPN. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Bet with DK Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 1-800-MY-RESET. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas, bet text pass-through may apply in Illinois. 21 and over. Void in Ontario. Event contract trading with DraftKings predictions involves risk of loss. Sportsbook bonus bets expire in 7 days. $50 in predictions dollars issued weekly for 3 weeks expire in 1 year. Redeem one non-withdrawable reward. Availability varies. Predictions offer void in New York. Ends June 28. Terms at dkng.co/audio.
Alrighty, let's start with Mike Babcock because I just want to get this out of the way now. So he has been officially hired by the Oilers. Gentlemen, how do we feel about that?
I mean, it's almost a stupid question because it's dumb. I don't feel good about it. I don't get it. I think it's stupid. I don't think it's going to help them win the cup either.
Yeah.
I really don't.
I think it's genuinely one of the more unbelievable things that's happened in hockey over the past few years. Babcock never fully went anywhere. His disciples are like all over this league. I mean, it's another I guess symptom of the fact that the same head coaches have been head coaches in the NHL since I was 2 years old.
Yeah. Sure so.
But I think ultimately it's just an unbelievable showing of cowardice and desperation by the Edmonton Oilers. I think, I get it. It feels kind of right for how much we hear about how badly Connor McDavid wants to win there. But I mean, even if you remove how much of a horrible guy he is on all accounts, he has not coached an NHL hockey game since before the pandemic. And he's not won a playoff series in God knows how long, since, the retirements with the Red Wings.
Since Mac and I were in high school.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. We talked about it last time.
Oh, my God. And I just think that, even if you can forgive what kind of guy he is, which you shouldn't, the idea that he's this, tactical genius because he won a cup, one cup with one of the best rosters ever assembled.
My foot could have won a cup with that team.
Exactly.
Right.
And those 2 gold medals with Team Canada, any one of us in this room could have coached Team Canada to a fucking gold medal.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a
called
joke.
Start the Crosby line and then, sit back and have a beer. Yeah, I don't know about this one. I think you make a great point about the coaching carousel. We've talked about it. It's a situation where people have said to me, well, what do you think about Torts? I'm like, great. Torts gets results. Torts does exactly what Torts does. He gets the most out of a not that great on paper roster, and then he just ends up going somewhere else and doing it. And everyone that plays for him is universally like, hey, we had a blast with him. He might be hard on me, but we end up winning some hockey games and doing well. It's just with the Babcock thing. I can't believe him and Quenneville are allowed by the league to be coaching at this point.
Well, at least Torts is by most accounts a very good person, off the ice. We found out that he's a huge animal rights activist.
Yes.
He's got all these quirks about him where you're like, oh, this is kind of probably just a fucking act.
Right.
And he's a hard ass at the rink and that's his coaching style and whatever. But yeah, that's not the fucking case with Mike Babcock. And it's so stupid. Also just zero fucking accountability. What a fucking horse shit coward answer from him when they asked him about the whole Columbus thing. It's just, it's ridiculous. I honestly don't have much else to say.
No, for him to say that he didn't do anything wrong or cross a line.
Oh, my wife called me and just said, Mike, it's time.
That's good.
Okay. Mike, it's fucking time for you to fucking go fuck off and play pickleball or something.
She's like, it's time to get out of my house. That's what she's saying. But no, it's I know people say all the time, why is everyone surprised when elite level athletes or elite level coaches aren't necessarily the best people in terms of, day-to-day life? And I totally get that. To be an elite level athlete, elite level coach, you have to be a little bit of a rooster sometimes. You have to be a little selfish. You got to have a little bit of cockiness to you. But Nick Saban and Bill Belichick aren't playing mental insane asylum with their own players. Like they're trying to get the most out of it, not roll hand grenades into their own locker room for what seems like sport to him. So
literally,
I mean,
well said.
Bill Belichick, has his own things, but I don't think he was ever having fucking Tom Brady drive 2 hours to go through his phone.
And then send him packing.
Like
no dinner, by the way.
Nick Saban's,
go get McDonald's on the way home, Tom.
Nick Saban's not calling up those old Alabama rosters and saying, let me go through your camera roll, because then none of the players would have been allowed to play at all. But it's frustrating. It seems like a real swing for the fence for the Oilers. I mean, the way I look at it, and then we can move on to something else, is you really couldn't convince anyone else to coach Connor McDavid. Like, you don't think anyone else would have jumped at the chance.
No
to
one
coach.
else wanted a shot at that?
Like you listen to Boudreaux, you talk about like Boudreaux, he's like, I get to coach Ovechkin. Like, oh my God, I couldn't sleep the night before. And that was before Ovi was, even obviously as great as he is now. But mind blower. Anyways. Done with Babcock. We'll have to talk about that only 1,000 more times before the season starts.
Well, they'll probably never even coach a game for him.
I wouldn't worry about it too much, boys. Bullshit
Let's make it out of camp first. All right, let's go to the draft. I know we have a lot to say about the draft. Anders, I know you have been studying up for the draft, so a lot going on. First things that I noticed right off the bat is San Jose, I think, might clean up in the first round. So 2 picks in the top 10. I think they've got another one. I think they've got the 27th as well.
Yep.
So what are you looking for the Sharks to do in the draft right off the hop?
Yeah, I mean, before all the chaos with trades went down, I was pretty firm on them going defenseman here. And for me, it's a great defenseman class, but it's headlined by Chase Reed out of Sault Ste. Marie. Really incredible story. A guy that was cut from his hockey team less than a year ago, found his way to Sault Ste. Marie, has just like ascended up the ranks, become such like a dependable minutes eater guy with so much offensive upside. So I thought that the fit there in San Jose would be really obvious. But with this move, it really points to me that it's Stenberg for them. And they feel, because of the depth of this D-man class, they can go grab a guy like maybe Albert Smeets or Keaton Verhoff. I personally have them taking Dax and Rudolph here. But I'm pretty confident at 2 and 9, we're looking at Ivar Stenberg and one of the D-men in that range.
Just quickly, does anyone happen to know where Chase Reed is playing college hockey this upcoming fall? It just happened to slip my mind. Go Green.
Let everybody know.
Michigan State, baby. That's where actual defensemen go, not stupid U of M. But no, I totally agree with you. I think Stenberg's the home run pick for them. Basically, as soon as Toronto came out and said, we're taking Gavin McKenna 1, I think we all knew San Jose was going to take this guy. I don't see them really deviating from this. I know people really want that player. They really want that number 2 pick. I don't see San Jose giving that up easily. Picking right after the Sharks is, Anders, your beloved Canucks. So how do we feel in Canucks land going into this draft?
Well, you know what? I'll be honest with you. I actually feel a lot better than I did a few days ago, because what I thought the situation was going to be is that the Sharks would take Chase Reed at number 2, and then we would be tasked with picking between Ivar Stenberg and Caleb Malhotra. And for a franchise that has had this almost diagnosable, medically relevant hyperfixation on acquiring Swedish talent, for us to pass on a guy like Ivar Stenberg, as much as I love Caleb Malhotra, was gonna send me into psychosis, I think. So having that choice taken off our hands has kind of taken a weight off my shoulders, and I love the player that Caleb is, and by all accounts, he is. People rave about his character and the type of kid he was and the way that Manny Malhotra, Canucks' new head coach, raised him. Obviously, that's going to be a very interesting storyline. I think, people might look at this as kind of like a nepotism thing, but from all accounts, the fact that Caleb Malhotra is the son of our head coach has been seen within the organization as a reason not to draft him rather than the cause for doing so. There's been reportedly extensive talks between new GM Ryan Johnson and Manny Malhotra about like, are you comfortable with this? Do you think it makes sense? Like can you make this work? And because I do think the player and the fit makes a ton of sense. I think the Sedins and Ryan Johnson have made it very clear that it's going to take some time to acquire talent, but what they can do a little bit faster is get the right guys in the room, rebuild the Canucks culture, because ultimately I think a lack of work ethic and a lack of discipline and a lack of culture within that locker room imploded the Canucks far before their lack of talent ever could.
It's a great
well
point.
said.
I also think that, like, if the guy is slated to get picked 3rd overall in the draft, I don't think it's necessarily because he's Manny Malhotra's son. Now, don't
Right.
get me wrong, that probably helps a little bit in your draft interview
Sure.
process, because teams know that
You know
you
the
were
kind of kid you have.
Yeah, you were brought up by an NHL coach too. So like the way that he's disciplined might be a little bit more in line than someone who wasn't. That being said, though, if he's slated at 3 overall, I see no problems with a team drafting the coach's son. Now,
Yeah.
if you have to fire the coach, that might, be
Or
a
if
little
the
bit
player doesn't pan out, you know.
correct, might be
yeah.
a little bit of a problem. But like, I mean, let's think about if Iggy was still playing. You don't think he'd love to have Tidge,
Sure.
or if he
Right.
was coaching in the P-Dub where his daughter just
Right,
got
yeah.
drafted too.
Yeah,
Like,
true.
stud. Oh my God, Iggy, what are you doing? Like,
Mhm.
I think he would
That
love that
family
too.
is just cracked out at
Insane.
Oh
hockey.
my gosh!
So
like,
sick.
does that family take a day off, like when they go on
Right.
vacation, or is it just team workouts?
Yeah.
Back to draft stuff. So St. Louis, I think, is a really interesting one
Mhm.
here. 4 picks in the first round, 11, 15, 16, 29th.
Insane.
I think they're going to do a lot. What I'm curious to see what you guys think is they got 15 and 16 from the Red Wings and the Caps, respectively. We know about the Ruck Twins. We've seen that the Ruck Twins have said that they want to stay in the same, team together. They want to be drafted by the same franchise.
Yeah.
The last time we really saw that was with your beloved, Sedin twins. Do you think there is a world where these twins get taken 15th and 16th, which I think people are saying is a little bit higher than what we would typically expect them to be drafted?
Sure. I wouldn't even necessarily hate it, but I do think it's a bit of a jump. I think, what's the last pick they have? Is that 29th?
It is
Mhm.
29th.
Then I think it would be a lot more likely to see Liam Ruck at 16 and Marcus at 29.
Okay.
Because Marcus is a guy that realistically, without the Liam Ruck connection, is a second rounder, more likely than not. And I don't personally think that anyone, if Liam is already off the board to St. Louis, I don't think there's a team out there that sees Marcus Ruck in him of himself, in his own vacuum,
Right.
as a guy that's worth spending a first round pick. But
That's
I do absolutely agree that if you can get both of them, then a first round pick makes a ton of sense, but you still probably want to try and push that as late as possible.
Yeah, so they have that 29th, and then they don't go again until 43rd in the second round, I believe.
Right.
Actually, a little bit later than that. So I think there's a situation, too, where if both of them don't go, or if Liam doesn't go, maybe they try and grab the 30th pick as well. I think it's
Yeah.
Calgary's. I think that's the one they have from Vegas. So I could see them doing something there. But just out of all the other teams, maybe someone picking top 10, maybe someone who's not, who are you looking at to make a big splash other than St. Louis and San Jose?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I think really, I think around the top 3 feels pretty set up. I think 4 through 8 is going to be very deterministic for the rest of this draft, and I think it's going to start when a team passes on a defenseman for a guy like Viggo Bjork, who the 5'9" undersized center, has shot up draft boards this year as much as anyone in the entire class. I think chalk would indicate that there's so many great defensemen in this class. All these teams in this range could use a defenseman, because you always can. It's a premium position. But I'm looking at a team, probably Winnipeg at number 8 to take that kind of swing, on just a high upside guy. I think this draft really lights up in sort of the teens, because there's still so much talent left in that area, but the things actually separating these prospects are so minute and so like pick your flavor and individual that I mean I'm a big fan of this draft class. I think while it's top heavy, I think it's still very strong across the board. But it is one of the hardest draft class to predict I've seen in a long time.
I feel like that's what
Absolutely.
just makes the NHL draft so sick in general. What you were talking
Yes.
about, like later on, is like the second half of the first round, and even a little bit early into the second round, is so like this. It could be the same caliber of player, but it's
Yeah.
just like you said, it's about what kind of guy. What kind of guy are you?
Guy or
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think the Caps would do? Do you think they fall into the boat of wanting to pick a defenseman, or what do you have on them?
When they had 2 first-round picks, I saw them taking a center and a defenseman in whatever order made more sense at the time. Now that they're down to 1, I have them going for a center. I think they need kind of a fresh young center who projects to some NHL capabilities. And 2 names that I quickly think are really interesting for them are Ilya Morozov, the Russian currently playing at Miami of Ohio, and Alexander Command, who played in Sweden this year. I think those are 2 really interesting names for them because they're very diametrically opposed players. I think Ilya Morozov would be a huge sort of boomer bust home run swing. Like if this guy hits top 6 offensive producer in your lineup someday. If he doesn't, it's hard to understand exactly what his role would be. Whereas Alexander Command is, a very just steady, stable, reliable, 2-way kind of guy. I think like his projectability as at the very least a bottom 6 center someday in this league is very easy to see. He's, really excelled when playing in his age group. He's had some opportunities to jump up into the SHL senior team and didn't shine, didn't sparkle, but totally held his own and looked like, an adult amongst other adults despite being just 17 years old.
Yeah, I think the Caps one is really interesting. They obviously still have that 18th pick in the first round, and then they don't pick again until the 4th round, which we're not really used to seeing from the Caps. They always have like 2 or 3 in the second and third. So, yeah, I think you make a great point. I think they'll probably take a swing at a center. I know Caps fans are still wondering about another defenseman. I think that might come in free agency. That seems like a little bit of a better situation for them to get what they need there. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I would expect it to play out that way. Last question I have for you on the draft is, who are you looking at? Maybe with a little bit of disdain, like why in the world would you move a pick, or why in the hell would you move down in the draft order? Has anyone's moves that they've made to either move up, move down, or acquire, or get rid of a pick just really rubbed you the wrong way?
I mean, I really hate to harp on the guys, but Chicago just had no business moving off that pick for that price, at least. And, I won't rehash too much my original point, but it essentially centers around if you're getting a guy like Bo Byram, I see 1 or 2 Bo Byrams that you could have drafted it for, and on a much cheaper contract and much like longer timeline. And again, I understand they want to win now, but I don't think Kyle Davidson's going to be around to see them win now. So
Wow.
Yeah, it is feasible. Anything else on the draft before we wrap up, gentlemen?
Well, he's got a trivia question. I think it's draft related. So
I do, yeah. So, relating to the Capitals, when you asked who I thought they should take, the guy I actually think they should take is a Finnish center by the name of Oliver Suvanto.
Okay.
However, do you know the last time the Washington Capitals in any round of the NHL draft selected a Finnish player?
This has to be like 80s, right? Because I
No.
know they like typically never do this.
It's a little bit sooner than that. It was like 2 very large gaps, and we're now in the second large gap.
Okay.
early 90s then, probably.
Are you looking for like a specific year?
Yeah, as close as you can get it. What I will tell you is you were certainly alive to have watched this player. He played
Okay.
about 165 games for you, so over the course of 2 seasons, I believe.
And he played those games in like the early 2000s?
Yes.
What?
Okay. So the year he was drafted, I am going to say 1998.
It's a little sooner than that.
Okay.
01.
Closer. In 2004, you selected two Finnish players. One of them never left Finland, and the other one was a defenseman who got about 2 seasons of work in before.
A defenseman. Wait. Hold on. Let me think. I'm trying to think about like Finnish names and like those black jerseys with the domes. Like,
I don't think we have any Finnish
who would
guys
I
that jump to
seen?
mind.
Oh my god.
I don't know what it is about the Caps. For whatever reason, they do not draft Finns. They love their Swedes, but they just don't draft Finns.
Well, I have a theory on that, but the year he played for you guys after developing for a while, he played between 2007 and 2009.
Really?
So I don't know if that's an error you would really.
Oh, that's that. I mean, that
Just
was
in your
like
bag.
my prime, like getting into the Capitals.
Forgot you guys were old. My bad. My
Yeah,
fault.
sorry. I totally wasn't in high school.
I was
in
going to a
2009,
ton of
right?
games at that point. Actually, we would have been wearing red by then, though.
Yeah.
So I
07
shouldn't be
would have
picturing
been the
dome
first
jerseys.
year, second year.
He rocked the red in the earliest era of it. Oh my god! Wait! It's got to be like one of those fucking Nick. Like, you remember there was like a carousel of like defensemen that we had around then that was like fucking like Thomas Kondratic and Jack Hillen for a minute and like some
Tim
of the
Gleason, Dennis
yeah,
Wideman, Scotty Walker.
It's gonna be somebody
yeah.
like that. Hold on. I can get this.
Jeff Schultz.
There it is.
Yeah.
From Tampere, Finland.
Right.
Hold
on. Do we go initials?
I don't even know.
Let's go initials.
What are the initials?
SL.
SL.
Sammy Lepisto?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, there
fuck,
it is.
dude.
There it is.
Lepisto. God dang it.
Wow.
I do remember you and I talking about this
Yeah.
one time. Fuck, I
Yeah.
should have remembered that.
Well, my
That's
theory as to
crazy.
why they don't draft him anymore is I think it's just because Ovi's Russian and he doesn't
Yeah,
fuck
I
with
was gonna
Finnish
say,
guys.
like,
Russians and Finnish
Yeah.
just don't get along anymore.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I can't really, like, especially with the timeline of that, I think it just matches up too well. I can't imagine another reason.
Right.
But
Yeah, that is odd.
Yeah, at one point they did legit have like kind of the Russian five going. They had Ovi, Fedorov, Kozlov, Semin. I forget who else was
Right.
there, but
Yeah, it was just Russian.
well, yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I wanted to mock a Finnish guy there, and then was like, wow, what's Ilya Morozov looking like, actually?
Yeah. That makes a lot more sense.
Real quick before we wrap, just want to shout out the 2026 Hockey Hall of Fame class. So Patrice Bergeron, I don't really think there's any
Well-deserved,
argument there. One of the greatest to ever do it.
Mhm.
Carey Price, same thing. Pekka Rinne, absolutely.
Admiral's legend.
Cindy Curley gets in. She was a huge pioneer for the USA women's hockey program. Brian Burke goes in as a builder. I think, we can all say that that's well-deserved. But the one
British
I
Columbia legend.
really want to hammer home here is congrats to Big Walt. Keith Tkachuk finally gets in after, I don't know how many years of snubs that was. For whatever reason, the Hall did not want Roenick and Tkachuk in. So I'm glad they're both in now. Justice has been served.
Did you see what Biz said about Keith
Yes.
getting in?
Yeah.
That they should put his balls and his wrench in there just for making the the Tkachuk brothers at this.
Yeah. And then I think their sister is like an elite level field hockey player or something too.
Yeah, he
so-
should have got in as a player and a builder.
Yeah,
builder.
literally.
Yeah, a builder of something. Yep.
Yeah, but congrats to him. I mean, the guy had over 1,000 points. He had well over 500 goals, I believe. So I don't really think there's any argument against that one.
No, it's well deserved. I don't have a single problem with any of those. I feel like
Yeah.
maybe not every year, but oftentimes I'm like, really, that guy got in before like
Yeah.
some other guy that I like that's never gotten in. But
Yeah.
it's a good class,
It better not take Nick Backstrom that long. I'm gonna
dude.
lose
I
my
know. I
mind.
swear to God.
All right, gentlemen. Anything else before we wrap up here?
You can catch my mock draft at puckwummy.com, where I'm writing a bunch of articles like that. Yeah, just wanted to give you guys the flowers real quick. Congrats on another awesome season of great work. It's been
Thank you.
really nice tuning in every year or every week. And I'm honored to get to come back and chat with you guys. So thanks a lot.
Anytime. Last quick breaking news point at the buzzer: Zach Benson 7x7.5 in Buffalo extended.
Really?
So
they're doing something.
they're
Okay.
doing something. But we will talk about that in the next episode.